students, today I have come back with your English literature. The chapter titled A Letter to God. The summary and theme of the chapter are already discussed. Let us start the thorough reading of this chapter. The house, the only one in the entire valley, the whole valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. Crest means top of the hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, that means heavy rainfall, or at least a shower, drizzle or mild rain. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his field intimately, that means very closely, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So from this first paragraph, it is clear Lencho the farmer lived on the only house that was there on the top of a hill. The hill was low heighted. From there, a river and a ready to harvest cornfield were visible. You can see here the river and the cornfield. The field belonged to Lencho, and he had utmost confidence that the harvest would reap great profits. The only thing that he awaited was rainfall. In this hope, he spent an entire morning gazing at the sky in the northeast direction, from where a drizzle was expected to shower on his field. Next, come to the text. Now we were really going to get some water, woman. Woman means here his wife. The woman who was preparing supper replied, "Yes, God willing." That means by the grace of God. The older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, "Come for dinner." It was during the meal that, just as Lencho has predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. You can see here in the picture, the air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces, and the little ones are 5s." So what is the explanation here? The man, while looking at the sky, confidently tells his wife that they are going to have a rain shower, to which the lady replies by saying, "Only if everything happens as they hope and they expect." Their elder children were working at the field and the younger ones were playing near the house when Lencho's wife calls everyone for dinner. It is during that time drops of rain began to fall, hereby proving the farmer's prediction to be true. The wind was pleasant and clouds could be seen approaching from the northeast. Lencho goes out of the house to take pleasure in feeling the droplets in his body. He says so. He says what he says? That smaller ones, smaller drops, that is similar to 5 cents, and the Bigger one, 10 cents. Why he said so? He said so because these raindrops would ensure a good crop, which would eventually get them a lot of money. Let's come back in the text. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers, draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly, a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. You can see here, when it rains, it looks like this, and when it stirs the hailstones, it looks like frozen pearls. So, what is the explanation here? On seeing everything go as expected, Lencho reflected upon the field and the flowers covered with droplets, which resembled as if they were wrapped in a curtain. Unexpectedly, strong winds started blowing, leading to a hailstorm. Here is a hailstorm, the picture of hailstorm. Satirically, the writer refers to these pellets of frozen rain as new silver coins. The innocent boys became playful and went out in the rain to play and collect these hailstones, which looked like frozen pearls. "It's really getting bad now," exclaimed the man. "I hope it passes quickly." It did not pass quickly. For an hour the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hailstone, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white, as if covered with salt. You can see the field was covered with hailstones, and it looks, as it is in frozen form, it looks like salt. Now what is there next? Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his son, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have to have no corn." You can see here the picture of locust, the insect. Locust means the insect. Insect, here you can see the insect. Here they fly in groups, and generally they are destroying the crops. So what happened? Lencho became stressed and disappointed as everything went against the plan. The trees had shed their leaves, corns were smashed, and the flowers had what they had? They had shed their leaves. Corns were smashed, and the flowers had also fallen from their plants. While standing in the withered fields, he conveyed his dismay and sorrow to his sons by commenting that the effect of the storm proved to be worse than that of crop-destroying insects. All their hard work had gone in vain. He felt helpless as no corn had been left, and feared that they might have to starve this time. The night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope. What is that? Help from God. Don't be so upset. Even though this seems like a total loss, remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. All through the night, Lenchos thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Lencho was an ox of a man. That means a very strong, very powerful person, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday, at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. And here reflects the blind faith, his blind faith in God. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family, and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to show my field again. Pesos, that the currency of several Latin American countries. You can see here the colored areas. In Latin America and colored areas, these pesos are using this currency, pesos. So, I need 100 pesos in order to show my field again and to live until the crop comes because the hailstorm. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. Even after everything had gone southwards, that means gone wrong, the family still had hope in their hearts of hearts. They had faith in the Almighty, even after nothing was left. They gave each other support and recalled a saying which assures that no one ever dies of starvation. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his hope, one hope, that is the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience, that means in one's inner soul. Lencho was an ox of a man, that is very strong, powerful person, working like an animal in his face, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday, in the morning, the early morning at daybreak, that means in the early morning, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place it in the mail. Lencho, in his letter to God, he communicated his poverty-stricken situation and mentioned that he required 100 pesos to regenerate the crops along with surviving until they are ready to harvest. And the most surprising and the supportive document of his blind faith in God is on the envelope. In place of address, he wrote to God. Then at the post office, placed stamped on the letter and dropped it in the mailbox. So today up to this, next day we'll complete the chapter. Students, now you please take out the copy to note down few word meanings. You must keep in mind the words used here may be used in different meaning in other context. But in this context, the meaning are what I have written here. First word is entire, that means total or whole. Crest, top or peak. Next word dotted, marked or decorated. Downpour, you know the meaning, heavy rainfall. Shower, drizzle or light rain. Intimately, closely. Predicted, foretold. Satisfied, contented. Regarded, looked. Draped, covered. Hailstone, frozen mass of ice. Resemble, look like or similar to. Destroyed, ruined. Locusts, insects which fly in big groups and destroy crops. Solitary, the only or alone. Instructed, informed. Conscience, that means inner soul. Ox of a man, a very powerful person. Here is today's lesson in brief. We will discuss the main points of today's lesson, and under the main points, few sub points are there. What is the first point? First point is Lencho's house and his crop. How it was? Lencho's house was the only one which was situated on the top of a low hill. From his house, the river and his field full of crop could easily be seen. His fields full of ripe corn needed rains badly. Needed rains, at least a little rain. Next point, the rainfall. As per Lencho's prediction, huge clouds could be seen arriving in the northeast. Soon, big drops of rain began to fall. Lencho went outside to feel the rain on his body. He expressed his happiness by saying that the drops of rain were new coins. Now the third point, hailstorm and his loss. Soon the hailstorm struck the field and destroyed his crops completely. As the story progresses, the family was so distraught. They thought that there was no hope at all, not a single one. There is no one who can help us, they said. And this dialogue proves how terrible the aftermath of the calamity was. The type of conflict dominating in the story is man versus nature. Next, what happened? Lencho didn't lose hope. Next point is Lencho's innocent faith and confidence. Lencho had unwavering faith in God. Thus, his family regained back their hope, and that hope is a help from God. A help from God. Despite spending all these years working at the firm, he still knew how to write. In his letter to God, he is writing the letter to God, height of blind faith. He communicated his poverty-stricken situation and mentioned that he needed 100 pesos to regenerate the crops along with surviving until they are ready to harvest. And after that, at last, on the envelope, he wrote to God as the address. Then at the post office, placed stamp on the letter and dropped it in the mailbox. Now from this part, few questions what you can prepare. Who was Lencho? Question number 1. Question number 2. What did Lencho hope for? Question number 3. Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? How did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's face? How did Lencho feel when the hail stopped? Who or what did Lencho have faith in? What did he do then? So, today up to this.